Back in my freshman year of high school, I met a girl who I had a major crush on. She was a bit on the quiet side, but highly talented and intelligent. She did have a slight stutter, though, and in hindsight she looked kind of like Porky Pig. Throughout the year, I didn't get much information about her personal life due to her being a very secretive person. This was until about a year ago when she finally revealed to me about her life outside of school. She revealed that she was unhappy with her life at home. Her mother was strictly religious, and her father had an obsession with selling burned DVD discs. Her mother banned her from watching certain TV shows and using social media sites like Instagram, Snapchat, and MySpace. She also frequently suffered from asthma and also had autism. However, she'd been hiding a DVD from her mother that came from her little sister who died a year earlier from asthma. It was a blank DVD with a green color code labor sticker on it that had the early reel of the show Peppa Pig. She said it had been made around 2003, and the original file was on a torrent site called Discus. This girl was a strict vegan and completely obsessed with animals in general. Which made sense given that she looked like a pig. A lot of her work in art class portrayed this because we both attended the same class. Most of the time she'd paint beautiful creatures roaming around in their natural habitat. However, sometimes she'd also paint images of animals being brutally attacked by mankind or their wounded bodies sprawled out on the ground at the feet of a demonic human killer. She never actually spoke to me and her friends about this particular topic, and we didn't want to push her to do so. She'd avoid us at lunchtime and shut herself anyway. I did find this to be a little strange, but people at school don't tend to be run-of-the-mill. Above all, I admired her for being so passionate about her beliefs. I'd been busy with school, so I forgot about the disc for a few days. It wasn't until one day my best friend was over and he noticed the disc. He asked about it and I told him about what it was and how I acquired it. He said that his little cousin's birthday was coming up and that she really liked Peppa Pig. I didn't really need the disc, so I didn't have a problem giving the DVD to him. However, he insisted that he previewed the DVD first. Seeing how I wanted to see what content was on the DVD anyway, I went ahead and previewed it with him. I inserted the DVD into the drive of my desktop. There was a file on the disc, an MP4 file with a code saying early reel.mp4. Maybe this was some sort of bonus feature that I somehow stumbled upon? I double-clicked it and full-screened the video. The video began with a bunch of color bars on the screen, with the sine wave penetrating our ears. This lasted for about 20 seconds. I already figured something was not quite right about what I was watching. But then it cut to black. After a wait which felt like minutes, the screen flickered like an old VHS tape, possibly from an earlier analog to digital transfer, and still the occasional explosions of digital distortion from the corrupted file were present. I have no idea why we watched through that, but we did. And then finally the episode began. The copy included the original intro, which was completely normal and fine, but trust me, that was literally the least disturbing part of the video. There was no title for the episode, no mentions of people who worked on it, but seeing as how this was supposedly an early reel, I could understand why. The episode zoomed into the inside of Peppa's house. Instead of being placed on a hill, the house was placed on a grassland for some reason. I don't know why they changed it to a hill. It appeared to make more sense to put the house on a grassland rather than some hill, though. Peppa was with all of her other friends. Her friends finally left and the scene ended. It cut to the next day at school, which is where the real... well, it takes a dark turn. It looked as if Peppa had gotten into an argument with her friends. She argued for what must have been at least 10 seconds, and then finally, her friends suddenly started attacking her while chanting, "Kill the pig!" and "Drain its blood! Drain its blood! Drain its blood!" over and over again for at least 2 minutes. The only character that wasn't taking part in the bullying was Rebecca. However, she had a sinister expression on her face. Not exactly demonic, but it did make me suspicious. Peppa runs home crying and had marks all over her face. She then talks to herself saying, "Why? Why did they attack me like that? I didn't do anything wrong to them. She then decided to get back at the other children. The scene ended. When it returned, Rebecca was at Peppa's house. She knocked her out with a baseball bat. When Rebecca woke up, she was in what looked like an attic. She was strapped down to a table. She yelled, "Peppa, what the hell is wrong with you? Let me out!" Peppa replied with, "No, you let me suffer. Now you will get to know how suffering feels like." Rebecca then yelled something, but the audio cut off at that moment. I have no idea what she said. Peppa then started beating up Rebecca with a metal stick that looked like a tire iron. The detail of damage on Rebecca's face was highly detailed and immense. Her scream sort of sounded like it was pained. It showed an outside view of Peppa's house where text appeared saying 2 hours later. Peppa was with the rest of her friends. However, Emily Elephant discovered Rebecca's corpse underneath Peppa's bed. Emily yelled, "Peppa, what did you do to her?" Suddenly all her friends started attacking her, sort of like that scene in The Lion King where the hyenas attacked and killed Scar. It didn't show her being killed, and thank God it didn't. It then cut to outside. What appeared on screen almost made me throw up. Peppa's head was seen on a stick. Realistic blood covered the top half of the stick as flies swarmed around her deceased pig head. It reminded me of the head from the novel The Lord of the Flies. It ended with a shot of Peppa's head. It cut to the credits. It was all silent, and all there was on screen was this plain white text scrolling slowly on a red background. I ejected the disc and buried it in my own backyard. Needless to say, it didn't end up anyone else's present. For some time I couldn't sleep. It was mostly because of the mental image of Peppa Pig's head. Eventually I fell asleep at what must have been around midnight, but I couldn't get those terrible images out of my mind. That girl I had a crush on also avoided me everywhere I was. Wouldn't talk to me at all. Listen, if you come across an early reel of Peppa Pig, especially if it comes from someone who looks kind of like a pig, leave it be. Continue with what you were originally doing.